Hello everybody and welcome to this general walkthrough for the St Patrick's Day Tournament 2021. We are going to be playing a full 9 holes of the Drumore Links course, which is one of my favourites, really nicely designed course, and I think it's going to be enjoyable to play. As usual with these walkthrough videos, we're going to look at the overviews one hole at a time, and I'm going to put the suggested routes and some general elevations that you might want to use when working out your approaches and playing the holes. Bear in mind that these will need to be tweaked as we find out what wind strengths and wind directions we're going to be contending with through all 4 divisions during the tournament week. As always, please do share this video if you think it's going to be useful to your friends in the game. And if you are new here, very warm welcome to the channel. Please do hit thumbs up on the video, make sure you're subscribed, and hit that bell button as well so you get notified when we upload new content. There's going to be plenty of tournament streams and uploaded content throughout the tournament week as well. So let's get started by looking at hole number 1. So we begin with the par 4 and a very good chance here for an eagle. My preferred route here is on the left hand side, which is the black route shown on the diagram. 10% on the drive, and we're going to need some topspin to bounce over the rough and to get nicely along that second piece of fairway. From there, this will leave a very good chance on a rough bump, or it's really kind of a rock bump because your target is going to be on the rocks, but it is going to give you a very nice rollout. General elevation for the second shot plus 5%, and I do feel this is something we can use yardage notes as a reference and hopefully get something dialed in as the week goes on, depending of course on the direction of the wind. If you don't fancy rough bumps, then of course you will be playing the right hand side. You will need a little bit more topspin and a little bit more power on your drive to bounce over and get nicely down there. That will leave you then a shot where you can either bounce over the water onto the green, or you can go directly onto the green either with backspin on your short iron if you get far enough down there, or with your long iron, but you will need plenty backspin there to get the ball to stop in time. However, for eagle chances, the left hand side is the play in my opinion. On we go to the second, and this is the first of the par 3s. 20% extra is the general elevation here for all tees, and with the rookie tee, front tee, you're going to be long iron all of the way. Pro and expert, if you do have a tailwind, you're going to be using the long iron. I would suggest the Goliath here, otherwise you will be in between clubs. But if you do get any form of headwind, it's going to be the sniper. And of course, master division, it's going to be wood club all day and every day. So the thing is here, if you are going to miss this one, miss on the right rather than badly left, because left of pin, the green slopes down fairly dramatically, and if you do miss wide on the left, you will roll down into the rough, and we don't want to have to be saving a birdie from the rough on a par 3. So it's all going to depend here on wind direction, but generally the route is always going to be the same. You're just going to have to adapt spins and aim accordingly. Bear in mind, as this is downhill, we do have a second bounce to deal with. There's no real rough bumps to play for on this hole, so you're going to have to factor in the wind effect quite a lot on this hole. Hole number 3 then, which is of course a par 5, and there's some interesting options here. The safe drive is the white arrow. If you have the rock with the distance and the topspin, go for that because it's very, very accurate. Same with the quarterback if you're going to use power 3. You can use the extra mile, however, bear in mind, you don't want to be hitting a bad great left or a bad great right. If you're in the sand or the rough, you're going to have a very, very difficult time getting near the green in 2. 10% extra on the drive, going to aim to go right down to the end of that first piece of fairway on the left. From there, you have an uphill shot with your wood club, minus 10%, and it's bouncing on that very small pad of fairway there where the blue cross is marked. Difficult to get the speed right up onto the green. It is uphill, but then you don't want to come in with too much topspin and overshoot. I would recommend going with a 180 yard wood club here, unless you know that you have some tailwind to work with, in which case, if you have sufficient power ball, you can drop down to sniper. While we're looking at the left hand side, there is of course a send it option if you want to go with a power 5 ball. However, make sure you've got some topspin. If you don't clear the rough or you don't roll out from the rough, again, you're going to have a difficult shot to get your green in 2 and secure the eagle. If you have curl on your driver and the side spin 2 or 3 ball, you can go with the black line, but once again I would be packing a 180 yard wood club there if you have it, Cataclysm or Big Dog, or maybe the Horizon for the topspin on the second shot. Difficult to get an albatross here, make sure of your eagle and move on. The fourth hole now, another par 3, and it's very interesting here, with other holes as well on the Drumore Links, is that the tee placements do vary from the divisions. Let's start with Rookie. 20% extra here, the black line, so it's the nearer tee, but it gives you a nice line to bounce over to the pin there for a good chance at a hole in one. As you can see, the Pro tee of course is set back further, but it's also set back to the right. So we are going to need more right spin because we want to bounce around the same area that we would do with Rookie, but we've got to factor in that different angle of approach to our shot. Pro and Expert, once again, 20%, and that's obviously going to be with the sniper. Master Division, the angle again is changed, but it's also a higher position, and the general elevation for the Master Division from third tee is plus 30. And here you're going to be wanting to play with a driver, with accuracy, quarterback or the rock. Very good chance here. But a difficult approach nonetheless. If we can get an extra here, it would be good on hole number 4. Hole 5, another par 4. Only one route suggested here. I've never played on the left-hand side, and that is due to that huge bunker just before the green, which takes out any decent line of an eagle there from the left. So it's right side for me, 10% on the drive, and I like the quarterback or the rock for the accuracy, ball guide and the curl that those drivers have. That will leave you there a 0% approach, and if you don't fancy a rough bump with topspin, then just play a standard bounce over on that patch of fairway before the green. Obviously, if we do get a lot of tailwind in the higher divisions, there is a blast shot here just bouncing over the water and the rocks, trying to get to the green in one, which would be a very nice shot if it works on hole number 5. Once again, we have two routes to choose from with hole number 6, and it is going to be wind dependent. Let's look at first a tailwind scenario, or maybe tail crosswind, and that will be the right hand side following the white arrows. I value the big topper here, or Thor's hammer for the topspin. Get that topspin on the ball, bounce over and get yourself along that fairway as much as possible. You're going to be wanting 370 yards from front tee, 400 yards really from second tee, and obviously a lot more from the third tee to be in with a very good chance at an albatross here. 20% on the drive, assuming that's gone well and you've hit your perfect ball and kind of threaded the needle with the ball between those two sand traps, then you've got an uphill second shot, minus 10%. There is a rough bump here, but you've got to be good with your adjustment. You don't want to be hitting a bad left or a bad great right, but it does give you a very, very good chance for albatross. If you don't fancy the rough bump, then just play a standard fairway approach there for shot number 2. If we do have headwind, for me, I don't like the right side. Means we'll probably need to go with overpower, and if that's with the big topper, you're really putting a lot of risk on there. With a minor great left or right, you're probably going to be in the rough or the sand. So I would lay up on the left hand side. Again, 20% extra is the key, but try and get as far up as you possibly can. If we're going with the left route, then the second shot once again is minus 10% elevation as it's uphill, but we want to bounce over, and I would then recommend going with the Cataclysm or the Big Dog, just so that you aren't too short there in case your drive isn't as long as you wanted to. Bear in mind with that bounce over, the wind will compress the second bounce, so make sure you compensate and have the second bounce comfortably over onto the green so that you're not going to bounce short and land directly in the sand. So there we go, that's hole number 6. Hole number 7, it's the last of the par 3s. 20% general elevation for all 3 tees here. And once again, the position of the tees does vary, so if you are playing all divisions, you're going to have to bear this in mind. The rookies, very nice approach here to the pin, very, very nice line for a hole in one. Playing with a long iron and you're bouncing over, you're going to need minimal spin really. These greens are very true on Drumore Links, and this is no exception. Very good chance for a hole in one. If you do have a good long iron, then you can of course go with topspin and ball guide for the rough bump, but for me the bounce over is a very solid approach. Looking at Pro, Expert and Master, that is the white line, so you're bouncing on a different part of the fairway Still 20% extra, but we're looking to bounce over with a nice line there for the hole in 1. So there we go, hole number 7. The last of the par 4s, this is hole number 8, and for me, I'd be favouring the left-hand side, which is the white arrows. Plus 10% on the drive, bouncing over the rough there with some topspin, and we're going to probably need power 2 or power 3 balls so that we don't have to risk any overpower. Now, with the second shot, usually this is 0% because the fairway is much flatter than on the right. We'll talk about that more in a bit. But the second shot, I would be going with a rough bump here for the best chance at an eagle, either the runner or the hornet, whichever gives you best topspin and ball guide combined. If you don't fancy the rough bump, you can go with a standard thorn shot, bouncing after the rough with a few bars of backspin. But for me, the rough bump is going to be the best route because it does take out the secondary bounce wind effect. If you don't fancy the left-hand side, you can of course play out to the right with the black arrows, 10% again, but the reason I've put 2 elevations on the second shot is because on the drive, that fairway does slope down, so depending how long or short your drive is, it will vary the elevation on the second shot. So in terms of consistency, I would favour the left-hand side. Of course, if we do get strong tailwind in the higher divisions, then this is going to be a blast and we're going to try and get to the green in 1. And finally, onto hole number 9. Now, what to say about this one? This hole is long and you won't see the tee boxes there because if I'm showing the tee boxes, you wouldn't have seen much detail at all. They are kind of way down there off the bottom of the screen. 0% on the drive. Now, I've shown the safe route here. The quarterback or the rock, very good again, or the apoc for the curl. Get yourself as far down that fairway to the tip of the blue arrow as you can, obviously without risking the rough. From there, you've got another 0% shot on the second shot going to the green. You've still got a lot of distance to cover here though, so even if your drive is a decent length, you're going to need the cataclysm, or you're going to need the big dog, or you're going to need the horizon for the distance. Bounce over the rough and the sand there with plenty of topspin. You don't really want to be short here. As long as you get the ball to the fringe, the green rolls down very, very nicely for an easy eagle putt. But if you are feeling brave, you can strap a power 5 ball on and go for a blast shot here, bouncing near to where the drive wants to finish if you're going the safe option. But what you're going to be doing is playing a bit of a lottery shot here because the second bounce is going to be on the Giant's Causeway style rocks. Usually you will get a favourable bounce and roll out to the fairway. However, sometimes you may get a weird bounce and it will kick you left or right, potentially into the rough or the sand. So if you favour a more consistent approach, follow the arrows that are shown here. Obviously, if we get a lot of tailwind, it might be worth a blast, because even if you get a weird bounce, you should be still okay to reach with the rough iron in 2. But that's all depending on personal preference and how you feel on the day really, and what shots you are comfortable with. Thank you so much for watching everybody, hope you found it useful, and I'll see you all very soon for the St. Patrick's Day tournament. Bye for now, bye bye.